Hi there, and welcome to Michigan Matters. Irrespective of all the talk about the troubles of big business, especially the big three, all who study our economy know increasingly it is small business that now drives our region and in many ways the country. Today we'll focus on the impact small business has, as well as get some advice on starting up a company as we chat with Ed King, Director of Small Business Services at Wayne State School of Business Administration. Plus, Denise Illich, Derek Miller, and I are rejoined by Bob Ficano, sitting in this week for Brooks Patterson on the Roundtable and Final Viewpoint segments. But first, it's a look at the state of small business in our region today on Michigan Matters.
Michigan Matters. In-depth insight into local business, political, and controversial issues. With your host, Carol Cain.
We're joined by Ed King, Director of Small Business Services and Professional Development Division at Wayne State School of Business Administration, who's advised thousands of small businesses here throughout the whole state and actually around the country. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for welcoming me down here.
Well, as I said at the start of the show, we know it's small business that's becoming a bigger part of what Michigan's economy is all about. So just from the starting point of that, how do you describe what is a small business?
Well, the United States government defines a small business as anything less than 250 employees, and that, in my mind, that's quite a large business. Most of the people we deal with have less than 10 employees. But it's not based upon sales. A lot of times people say you have to be a certain level of sales before you qualify as a big business. And you can take a guy working in his garage at a card table, selling wholesale lumber and generating millions and millions of dollars of sales. So it's the idea of having less than 250 employees.
And since you've been working with small businesses for decades now in terms of the overall state, how many are there in the state, and what percentage of it is our business tied specifically to small business right now?
You didn't say you were going to ask me that particular question. How many small businesses are there in the United States?
I think that last figure I saw was 200 and some thousand across the state.
Yeah, there's about 20 million in the United States, and we represent 3% of that, so...
Do the math. You've got an MBA from Michigan, as do I, so we'll let that one go.
I'm telling you, this is a pop... Never knew there's a pop quiz here. I would say 60,000.
Okay. One of the things we know that's going on right now is the auto companies are right-sizing themselves in terms of their payrolls, and they're offering a lot of buyouts. We know a lot of baby boomers in particular will be taking them. I'm sure many are right now asking themselves, should they be starting up a small business? What piece of advice, since you've given advice to so many people through the years on this, should they be asking themselves, and if they are a candidate to become a small business owner?
Well, in order to be a candidate to be a small business owner, and we've worked with these people over the years, you really got to be a self-starter. No one's going to tell you when to get up in the morning. You have to be into hard working, and believe it or not, you have to know something about marketing and administration. Many people get into small business, they think that if they build a better mousetrap, the world will be a path to their door, and it's really not true. You've got to know how to sell, you have to know how to take care of the paperwork, and also at the same time provide the product or service. You know, running a successful restaurant has well, I shouldn't say absolutely nothing to do with fixing a meal, but their success is based upon marketing and administration. I mean, you can't really kill anybody in a restaurant, but
well, maybe some of the E. coli, whatever that gets in some of the food things there. Sure. But I know I have written my column at the Free Press where I focus a lot on small businesses, and you and I have talked, and I've quoted you in my column in the past, talking about the importance of a business plan. How important is that?
Well, if you're looking for outside funding, a business plan, a formal business plan, is extremely important. Matter of fact, you must create one. But if, on the other hand, if you're using your own funds, I would do some planning, even if it's on the back of an envelope. But the number one thing is to crunch the numbers. I mean, you've got to be able to figure out what your sales and expenses are going to look like for the next 4 or 5 years.
Is there a thumbnail sketch of what you would advise someone starting out in a small business, how much money they should save up? I mean, I've heard 6 months worth of expenses. You should have that already tucked away, ready to go, so you don't have to pay yourself for the first few months. Yeah,
it really depends upon the business, because some are capital intensive, others businesses are not. Like, for example, being a consultant. I mean, what do you need? You can start a consulting firm for $300. You know, get yourself a shoe shine and an answering machine, and you're in business. But some businesses, for example, a restaurant is very capital intense, because you need money for inventory, you need money for equipment, you need money for wages, paying yourself. You also, if you're selling on time, in other words, on credit, you also have to finance accounts receivable.
How receptive do you think this marketplace is here in Michigan to providing financing for small business and startup businesses?
Well, I think wherever you go, it's difficult. You know, 60% of the money used to create a small business is generated by a person's savings account, their retirement, or getting a second mortgage on their home. 10% from family and friends, the other 25% from institutions such as banks. And what banks are looking for, the 3 C's they call it: character, capacity, and collateral. So they want you to be able to pay your bills back. They want to be able to grab something if you don't pay them. And the business has to be successful enough in order to generate and make the necessary payments.
So have you found the banks to be a good place to go for capital improvements and startup funds as far as small businesses go?
No.
Okay. What about venture capital in our state? That's another form
venture capital, I mean, I really can't blame the banks because, you know, it's dealing with, when we talk about the statistics, 80% fail within 5 years, and,
right.
and they have a fiduciary relationship with their depositors and the government, so they can't be out there throwing money away. But venture capitalists are very good if you are a high-tech business, because they're looking to invest a minimum of $250,000. They're looking for a 10 to 20% return, not 10 to 20% time return on their investment within 5 years, not 10 to 20%,
right.
but 10 times to 20 times. And they're also looking for a major commitment in terms of stock. If any of your listeners are interested in high tech, there's a great website out there called MichiganVCA.org, which lists the venture capital groups here in the state of Michigan. I think there's about 35 of them. They can also go to Entrepreneur Magazine. They have a website, and they have the 100 largest venture capital.
And I know that's been a complaint I've heard from many people. There aren't enough of them here in Michigan. So hold on, we're just getting started here with Ed King talking about small business. Keep it right here. We'll be right back.